You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Welcome back to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here and we have another show lined up for y'all. We have a special guest, Aaron Ryan. He is going to help us understand his secret, man, because he's a best-selling author. Like, you know, y'all have authors on the show. Well, guess what? This is not his first book. Okay, it's not his first rodeo. He has over 41 plus books underneath his belt. He knows what he's doing. I mean, check out his background. I mean, look at that. That's impressive already out the gate. So I just want to land the plane right now because before I do that, go to his website, bookmark it. Is author AaronRyan.com. Again, that's author AaronRyan.com. I want to land the plane right now because you have a resume that probably take me 40 days, 40 nights to get through. So my husband can say, welcome to the show. Aaron, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you so much. Such a kind intro. If you could just do that intro for all my other recordings, that'd be great.
Only do that type of intro with someone who has 41 plus books published. If it's your first intro, it might have been a little bit, I don't know.
A little boring. Yeah.
Boring. Like,
still a massive accomplishment, but yeah.
No, all jokes aside, we're just joking. We like to joke here, but keeping things light, understanding how unpredictable it is to be a published writer because you don't know how people are going to react to your books. You clearly have been able to build, from my point of view, a system that allows you to have repeat success and have readers anticipate, man, when's the next one coming out? You have a track record, so kind of take us back. How did you, in the beginning, realize, I can actually keep publishing because something's working?
Yeah, well, the very first book that I published, I actually unpublished. I tested it out, and it was essentially an autobiography. But I was all of, I think 30 years old. And you don't write an autobiography when you're 30. I mean, unless you're like a massive movie star and everybody knows you. I still had a lot to learn, still had a lot of journeys to undertake and a lot of paths to tread. I think the first one that I kind of had an epiphany or a watershed moment, like I'm going to do this, and this is exactly what I'm called to do, was really Dissonance Volume 1 Reality. I've been a voiceover artist for years and years. The industry is slowly eroding under the weight of AI, the SAG after a strike, the economy, underbidding colleagues, lowballing clients, and I pivoted and said, I'm going to go back to my first love because when I was 9 or 10 years old, I was in a young authors club, if that tells you anything. So that's the origin story. And I published it. I held it in my hands and went, wow, I made this. I saw it through and it was such an accomplishment. And I want to do that over and over and over again.
And also on your resume, you have other unique jobs as well. I mean, from paperboy to worship leader to wedding videographer, tech support. I mean, is that something that you feel gives you leverage to have all these different types of styles in writing with your books? Because sometimes people only focus on one particular style.
Definitely. And some of those jobs are forgettable. I mean, I was young. I needed the work. So, we don't talk about those. I literally, I look at all those jobs, whether they are vocational or whether they're just merely part-time jobs to fill the coffers, or they're just, the young jobs that you take, like a paperboy or working at Dairy Queen or something like that. They all taught me something. Every career has taught me something. And the last few jobs that I've had have taught me about business acumen, management, time management, goal setting, mantras, mission statements, expenses that are not expenses, but investments. A business owner, an entrepreneur, an enterpriser, a freelancer sees expenses as investments. They see this, what some people call a short-term expense, as a long-term investment. It's a totally different mindset. So a lot of them have really prepared me to treat my authoring career as an enterprise. And the same thing with my voiceovers, to treat it as an enterprise. It's not a hobby. It never has been. I've been fully intent on just taking this to the limit of where it can go, and seeing it through But I know in my heart, and I've known for some time, I'm a storyteller at heart, and that's what I'm called to be. So a lot of those careers, unsurprisingly, have been all about telling stories.
You mentioned AI earlier, and I want to talk a little bit about that because, that's something we can't escape. Everybody's talking about it. So we're going to do our part two. When you look at how people are using it, I mean, obviously there's different levels to it. There's those who are just kind of see what it is, what is a chat GPT, what is Grok, what is Claude, what is all this. And then you have others, I'm pretty sure like yourself, who kind of know a little bit more strategy behind it. What are some ways I can use it as another tool set to explore options, to create a plan or whatever. But I'm going to let you jump in. When you look at the technology that is fast paced, always changing every 2-3 months, what are some of the things that you like about AI, maybe as a co-pilot, and some things that you caution about AI where you don't want it to take over the creativity?
Yeah, it's such a polarizing and incendiary topic still. AI is not something that I'm fond of at all. In fact, I'm staunchly opposed to it. I've seen the erosion of my own industry and career almost singly due to AI. And you can pinpoint the steady erosion to the advent or the foray into the market of AI in the spring of 2023 with Chat GPT and OpenAI. That began the downward slide. And so I've lost great relationships with longtime clients that I've worked with forever who either have themselves, as a video producer, they've been replaced by AI from their, upper mucky mucks. We don't need, we don't need this person anymore to produce our videos. We'll just send it through, whatever they're using. Or we no longer need to outsource our voiceovers to a human talent. Let's just do Respeecher or Speechalo or SpeechOcean or 11 Labs. And we'll type in our quote and we'll give it a few prompts and it'll spit back a recording and we'll use that. Good enough. Let's go. And our income has taken a decisive hit as a result. So I don't have any love for AI. I don't use AI in my narrative. I never will. What I have used it for is like a little bit of idea generation as an author. So sometimes it's hard to wrap your mind around like the origins of a story. I actually can appreciate AI's inventiveness of coming up with, various scenarios. I've used it for that, but I usually end up falling back on what I have chosen anyway and putting the AI options aside. What I am fond of with AI is, for example, I don't remember where I saw it, but there was an article where someone I believe was in Desert Storm, or, probably wasn't a war, actually, I just dated myself. Maybe they're in Afghanistan, they had a leg blown off, and through AI, I don't know how, they get an artificially equipped leg or ligament, or limb rather, and they're using that and they can walk again. And I think that's brilliant and I think it's beautiful. But when it's used to supplant the creative gift that is God-given, and when it's used for us to just lazily outsource our ingenuity and our creative gifts to a chip, I take umbrage with that. I'm not a fan of that. Not yet, I should say.
I respect that. And I mean, I see it online. There's two crowds right now. There's ones who aside that they absolutely no, I'm not going down that road. I'm not going that room. And then there's others where it's like, oh man, I need it. And I think there's a fair take to say that having a healthy appetite is going to be good for the future, because I think from a creative myself in audio world, there's so many tools out there that expedite the tasks where it's boom, boom, boom. We can get a lot done and we can carry on more projects and collab on deeper levels. But to your point, I agree fully what you're saying from the human standpoint. When it starts to take away people's jobs, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like that's a study that needs to be continued, a case study or research, because one can argue, well, it can open other jobs. Because to your point with the military person, Imagine how many jobs that is creating in the future. Mm-hmm. So there's fair takes to take on both, but I definitely agree with you on the point on the human side. When we lose that soul, that's a problem. And I think that is something that will probably be a problem because there are amateurs out there who depend on it to where we get this quote unquote AI slop. Mm-hmm. But those who use it as a strategy, it's a difference there. And I think more of that will be kind of welcoming in the future because it's like music and movies. We went from Blockbuster to DVDs, Netflix, on-demand streaming, and there could probably be some points there made too, but no one's really talking about VHS anymore. I don't hear anybody talking about, man, give me my VCR back. You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be a lot of room. Like, there's going to be a topic. I didn't want to go this deep into it, but there's going to be some topics like this in the future because I think responsible usage of it is key.
I think it's absolutely the right way. AI is an unregulated Wild West right now. There's no legislation. I mean, the legislation has not caught up with the usage or the infringement. It's responsible for the dumbing down of society through the slop you're talking about and the reels. It's responsible for the lazy outsourcing of just, your gifts to a computer. And it's just one of those things where we have to look at, do you have potential to begin with? Can you harness that potential? Can you refine that potential within you so that you don't have to lean so much on something like this? But it is a tool. I totally agree that it is a tool and it needs to be used responsibly. I mean, I nodded my head vigorously because just like the internet itself, just like so many tools that have evolved down through time, you have to use them responsibly. One of the best quotes I ever heard about AI recently was an editor, and I work with plenty of them. And she made a post that said, listen, are you using AI in your work? She's talking to an author. Are you using AI in your work? If so, I encourage you to stop that. I can't bring out your voice if it's not there to begin with. And I loved that quote. It was just, she's spot on. It's not you talking. And as an author, the offerings of books that we're seeing populating Amazon, Kindle, Barnes and Noble, whatever. There's 7,500 books published every single day on Amazon. And so, we have to find some way to stick out and set ourselves apart from the herd. But in all of that, you've got a lot of people who are using Grok or OpenAI or ChatGPT or whatever to give them an entire book. And then they are using Midjourney to create a cover. They slap it all together and they throw it up online and publish it and put their own name on it. And I think it's ludicrous. You're not an author. You're a capitalist. You're just trying to make money. And you didn't create any of this. I think it's just kind of sad that that's where we're at. But that's just me.
That's a good point to make because that emphasizes what we're kind of talking about before. And that is, there's a huge difference of a person who uses it to explore ideas, to sharpen maybe their idea or their original thought versus the person, like you saying, they just lay on the doorbell like, man, make that magic for me. That's crazy. I didn't know that people actually are doing that much in writing books and publishing. That is wild. I didn't know that people were actually going hard like that. That's crazy.
Do you know what the after effect is? The sad after effect is of that is that as authors, we're fighting to prove that we are the genuine article, that what we've written is authentically us without, AI manipulation in any respect. And it pits us against each other. It pits us against our readers and them against us. And it's really sad because it wasn't intended to be that way, but through the misuse of it by some, all become suspect. And so, I mean, in every single book I don't have to, but I choose to include a disclaimer called Note on AI, which is, it's a radical step away, a radical departure from where books used to be, because the technology is so much in the public zeitgeist, so proliferate in society and so widely used. You have to distinguish yourself and say, I want to assure you, this is all me. And you shouldn't have to do that. It's just crazy that you do that.
And one last thought, because I didn't mean to go heavy in this, but this is really good. I think people are going to get a kick out of this. But my last thought is I produce other shows for actual talk show hosts, and I have a friend. I won't say who she is, but she's a doctor and she lives in Montana, and that's all information I'm going to say. I do her show remotely. So we use a little bit AI for organization, but we don't lean heavily. Why? Because it's very important. As a doctor, there's standards. There's certain things that have to be absolute truth and correct, and can't just be relied on some database that someone input into some system that people treat like a genie bottle and say, hey, made me sound smart. Because that is a very solid point when it comes to safety as well, because there's stuff out there that people are just putting out there and claiming that they know what they're talking about. And it's like, if you're not even a doctor, you should have any business talking about certain things with the medical industry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's made experts of all. Suddenly you've got, these experts that have no business and no experience in the fields that they're talking about. The thing that really, that just concerns me the most, because it is a tool, it can be used wisely, and it can be used, like for good effect. But, and I cite this all the time, but it was the best example I've ever seen is, you're watching TikTok videos, you talk about slop, TikTok, AI, Facebook, wherever, and you watch these videos of an overhead view, for example, of a coastal town, and they've got these boardwalks, and these people are walking along with their little Gucci bags, they're doing their shopping, la, 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 and just completely oblivious to the fact that there is bearing down on this town a 300-foot tsunami wave that is coming in, with massive ferocity, and you watch overhead in an aerial view as it the deluge inundates the town and completely destroys it. And you and I both know that is AI manufactured, but there's no label. There's nothing on it that says created by AI. And so if you read the comments, you see people down in the comments going, oh, those poor people, I didn't hear about this. When did this happen? And you want to bury your face in your hands because of the dumbing down of society that has happened because of this artificial creation. And then you have Seedance creating, hyper realistic videos of Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt duking it out on a rooftop that is unsanctioned by either of them. Neither of them appeared in that. It's completely AI. And so Seedance is getting the pantsuit off of them for things like that. And then you got people creating Avengers Doomsday trailers that are inauthentic. They're unsanctioned. They're not released by the studio, by Disney. And they're getting sued, It's just like, it's misinformation abounding.
Yeah, reminds me of back in the day when people used to talk about Napster and LimeWire.
Yeah.
And that's a great illustration of misusing technology. And yeah, back to you though, the guest, because that is why we have you on, because we need more original content, because it's kind of easy nowadays to see who's really about their craft, who really put the hours in versus the prompts in. There's a huge difference. You can tell which one you rather have, digital pizza or some real pizza with cheese, right, and it actually tastes like pizza. So back to you. Let's circle back to you as an author. When you look at how you plan working on a project, I heard stuff from like John Maxwell, how when he was early on writing his books, he used to have his team create binders, and they would create, bit by bit with these binders as these topics, and that's how he's able to formulate his books. When you look at your strategy from beginning, starting out to season now, what's some of the things that still seems to actually still work, and you don't kind of deviate from it? You just say, you know what, this is a core thing that really helps me with all my books.
Yeah, well, so traditionally there are two styles of writers, and one is a planner, and so they use things like index cards and flow charts and bullet lists and things like that. And then you've got a pantser is the other polar end of the spectrum, and they fly by the seat of their pants. And so it's a much more organic style. I fall almost completely into the latter camp. I do plan, some things you want to have an overarching sense of the story. Otherwise your characters are wandering aimlessly, bereft of any forward momentum, or directional axis that way. And I like the fact that you do have an outline, like that. But what I typically like to do is I'll shoot from the hip, and it's almost like a ready, fire, aim, type of approach. I like to create art that imitates life. If you are on the way to a wedding, you don't know that you're going to hit a bump in the road and get a flat tire, and then you're going to get mud on your white shirt. That's just life happening to us. So the way my books are written are very organic, art imitating life, natural. Things don't always work out, the way you expect. And I like that. There's a danger inherent in such writing approaches, because you can paint yourself into a corner, and you can, you're going to have to Control Z your way out of there. Like, shoot, I don't like this. And then you got to delete everything you wrote. Fortunately, that hasn't happened too often. I guess I have a decent enough head on my shoulders to know intuitively where I'm going off road, and this is not going to work. And what am I doing? Before I get way, way, way into a foreign cul-de-sac. But it is about diligence and routine. I think Stephen King said he likes to write 5,000 words a day. I like to write at least 5 pages a day of my book. Sometimes more. I'll just be on a writing tear, and I'll do 25, 35. Other days it's like pulling teeth trying to get a 2-pager out. But when inspiration strikes, you just follow it, as with anything. Yeah, I'm like, oh man, I'm so inspired on this story right now, and you couldn't peel my fingers off the keyboard. So when inspiration strikes, you just follow it.
Once again, it's on Refocus Radio, and talking to our guest today, Aaron Ryan. Go to his website, authoraaronryan.com. You can check out, man, all the stuff he's doing. I mean, I don't know when he takes time to sleep, but obviously he's done enough where he's going to sleep well in the future, because you got a lot of material. My next question for you is, wearing the entrepreneur hat, do you find it that it's always, it's probably not the best thing to ask, but I'm going to ask it. Do you find it always fun doing these projects now that you are seasoned, now that you are having, fan base of people who want to read your next published book? Or is it always organic type feel? I don't know if that's a good word, but is it still that fun, childlike, like, man, this is what I love, this is my passion? Or do you find yourself trying to strategize yourself and position yourself depending on how the market is?
That's a really good question, and it's hard to answer because I don't consider any of my books really a referendum on current events. I really intentionally steer clear of politics. But, I do try to write a story that's just compelling every time. So every book, I was just telling somebody earlier this week in an interview about this, every single book is a blessing and a curse. Every single one is loaded with all of my hopes and all of my fears together. Hopes that it's going to do well. Hopes that it'll inspire people, that it'll whisk people away, take them out of the present reality and some of the harsher elements thereof, and go on an adventure. Right? That's the whole point of a fictional novel. It doesn't always work, for everybody. You just can't please everyone, nor should you try. But the fear is that it's going to fall flat, that it'll maybe get close to bestseller status, or it'll hit bestseller status, and then it'll drift back into obscurity, which has happened a number of times with my books. You get peaks of great amounts of sales. You get dry spells, and barren plains of crickets. Both are exciting, but you have to be willing to ride each wave. And the hard thing is deciding not to pull out just because your sales aren't there. Many times I've said, I think I'm supposed to quit. I think I'm supposed to not do this, just really plug in more and press in more into voiceovers. But I have a big patience problem anyway. I already know that about myself, and a friend of mine is kind enough to frequently remind me of that. I have to be patient and wait, because I have no idea what influencer out there is going to maybe buy one of my books and go, oh my gosh, this guy's amazing, and you need to go buy his books. I just read this one and I'm about to read the rest. And then all of his followers go and buy my books, and then they tell people, and then they tell people, and it becomes viral. Until then, it's just doing the grind, doing the hustle, and enjoying it. But strip all that away, I have to create. I have to create a story. I'm innately a storyteller. So each book is, I consider it a calling, I guess, if that answers your question, in a really, verbose kind of way.
No, it does, because, what you said is very relatable to just life in general, or anybody you pick, your career or your business. I'm sure someone out there is going to relate to what you just said, because no matter what thing you do, whatever it is your thing, it's going to have a challenge, period. If it doesn't have a challenge, call me. Because everyone's looking for that easy button. Everyone's looking for that microwave success where it's like, let me just press this magic button. Let me just put this one magic prompt and all my troubles will fade away. That's not real life. That's a book series of some interesting way of thinking about life. But that's not reality of a human life. We always going to have a situation where whatever we like to do professionally, that challenge is actually opportunity. Talk about this show, for example. It started from a barbershop in 2017, a cheap mixer and 2 mics.
Wow.
In 2026, mind blown. I don't need to say nothing. Just go to I'mRefocusRadio.com and you see all the amazing people who are sharing their life purpose and their life challenges and how they went from A to Z. What great moment can you have? I'm going to throw it back to you, because this is going to be my last question for you. Knowing everything that we just said, especially for the viewer and the listener, I appreciate you all that tune into this show. Speak to that part about success as a business person, understanding that even if there are dry seasons, is it possible that those dry seasons are actually preparing you and positioning you for a better season? Because if you don't act now, then you're probably going to miss this opportunity of discipline, this opportunity of reflection, this opportunity of, I need some thick skin. Because when you have a challenge, life, we just talked about this in before we record, life has a way to give you humble pie. And when you think you can go it all, you got it all figured out, here comes that rain, here comes that storm. And it's not bad. It's how you get through it.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's poignant. I'm a Christian, so I'll say that freely. The Bible talks so much about perseverance. And perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete. It's a verse out of James. I find that I pray that every single day as one of my own prayers, that I would just be, continue to persevere. Because it's so easy to give up. Your dreams don't manifest or materialize as quickly or as microwavedly as you'd like them to. Dreams are best cooked in a crock pot, not a microwave. They just take a long time, and the best ones take a long time or a longer time. You have to be willing to just kind of ride it. I remember before I even got into business, we're talking back in 2007, I could feel it in my teeth. I wanted it so bad. I wanted self-employment so bad. I wanted to get out from under the thumb of the 9-to-5 managers and the rat race and working for someone else's dream. Everything I was doing, however, was malfunctioning. So my computer was malfunctioning. My tape decks were malfunctioning. I was doing multimedia at the time, and I was so ready to quit. And I remember a client of mine who I was doing some graphic design for at the time. He said, the temptation to quit is always greatest just before your greatest success. And I think he quoted Confucius on that. And it is absolutely true. The perseverance factor, you have to keep going. There's another great story about this airplane called the Lucky Bill in World War II. And it was trying to drop munitions or, supplies to somebody, got riddled with bullets, absolutely riddled with bullets. There was no logical reason why it stayed aloft. When it landed, they did their analysis and their examination on the plane. It was just, pocked with holes all the way front to back, aft to stern, or bow to stern. And they determined that it had more structural integrity than it had bullets to bring it down. And I love that report. So I as a creative, and for all the creatives out there, you have to have more structural integrity than you have bullets to bring you down. I was given a phrase by a former casting agent and now entrepreneur. She said, someone's endorsement of you, or lack thereof, has very little to do with your trajectory. And that's you not hanging your hat on the book sales or not, the good reviews or bad reviews, the opportunities to speak or not, blah, blah, blah. It's just persevering. If this is your dream, stick with it. That advice is as much for me as it is for anybody else.
Boom. I mean, I can wash my hands and go home. On that note, how can people stay in touch with you? Because I ain't want to touch it. That's so good. I'm gonna listen to it this weekend. So if someone's watching this and listening to this and they're like, man, I got inspired too. How can I stay in contact with this guy and follow him online? What's the best place that they can find you on social media, or if it's just your website?
Yeah, well, the website is authoraaronryan.com. They can go there. But if they're looking for more engagement, they can go to authoraaronryangroup.com, and that'll forward you to the Facebook group. It's private and exclusive. There's no scammers. There's no spammers. And I will post in there about books, progress, new releases, upcoming appearances, news on my screenplay adaptations I've had done for the books, and they're being pitched to streaming networks right now. Discount codes, giveaways, and if you are an author, and even if you're not, if you're a creative and you're looking for inspiration, some of this stuff will pertain to you too. You'll see videos in there that I post in the group for fellow authors and creatives that you'll probably find pretty inspiring. So authoraaronryan.com or authoraaronryangroup.com.
We're doing this on Refocus Radio, talking to our guest today, Aaron Ryan. Like always, I want to say to you, thank you for your time.
Thank you.